Thanks for tuning in today. I'm John Holmes, owner of Holmes Hobbies, and today we're going to talk about the Ultimate Scale Truck Expo. It was just down in Florida and had a great time, so I wanted to do a video of it. I apologize in advance that I don't have any media taken from it. I was a little pushed for time, which we'll get into the reasons on that. And so I took a couple of photos, but didn't get into the videos like I really wanted to. I wanted to have some video to show of that. But at any rate, it was still a really fun trip. It was still a really fun event to be at. So just wanted to tell you all about it. Maybe next year you'll be able to go if it's within your budget and within your driving range. So to start out, it was a pretty long drive for me. It's about 1,000 miles, 1,100 miles to get down there, and then the same to get back. So what I did was I went down through Kentucky and Georgia, stopped down in South Georgia where I have some friends and family there, and picked up some really cool tie-dye shirts from the Tie-Dye Ninja that we'll be selling on the website here soon. Going to get the Holmes Hobby screen printed on top of the tie-dye that he did. Really good artist, by the way. So if you like tie-dye stuff, look up the Tie-Dye Ninja on Facebook, by the way. He just is an amazing artist. So there's that. But after I picked up that, I went down about 200 miles for the last leg. I think, yeah, about 200 miles last leg from South Georgia to where we were going in Florida. And I broke down about 45 miles away from the event itself. So started the trip pretty good with this random van that I decided to take down there. But it ended up being the fuel pump that stopped working for us. And I have corroborated with the tow truck driver, it was indeed the fuel pump. There was no pressure, it wasn't working at all. So what we did, he got me off the highway there and took it to a reputable shop locally. Doug Swanson Towing, by the way, if you're ever in North Florida and you need a tow, he's a pretty good guy. So, you know, we got the first one installed and we were gonna be on our way to make it in time for the first day, Friday there at the event. Turns out the first pump we got replaced, it was a universal pump. It didn't work. It would click. The original pump wouldn't click over. The new pump would click, but it wouldn't rotate. So Doug, or the guy that did the work for me, he hit it with a hammer, didn't turn over, and fortunately, being experienced, we already had another one on order. So we had to wait an extra day, get the pump, and then install that. So what happened was Doug actually took me all the way to the event, put me on his rollback, and drove me the last 45 miles, dropped me out in the front gates of the event, which anybody that was at the event, they saw out there. Actually spent the first night just kind of camping out, camping out in front of the gates. And then he came back the next day and threw the new fuel pump. It worked great, bam, going like gangbusters. So the actual event itself, let's get to it. It was extremely fun. So this was an expo. This wasn't a competition event, although they did have some scoring going on, do a hill climb, do this little track and we'll time and everything. But just an extremely well put on event. Their vendor row was amazing. It was like a long strip. We had most of the vendors on that one strip and a couple of vendors that were, curved around to the side. A lot of guys there with just tons of scale rigs, just absolutely amazing scale rigs. So not only were the vendors there great, really into the scale part of the hobby, but the guys that were attending just had tons of rigs. Like some of the guys were like, yeah, I brought a couple, I had like 30 rigs all ready to run, just laid out. All of them just meticulously worked over. A lot of scale weathering, mostly small tire trucks. So this would be like a big truck. The TRX4 was one of the bigger trucks there. Pretty much no 2.2s. All 1.9s, 1.55s, 4.7 inch tall tires at the most. And that's what the trails were built for. And the trails there were amazing. I got some good time to drive around them. And although there's not a lot of rocks down in Florida, they did the best they could with the terrain. And honestly, it was just as much fun as driving on rocks. We have a good bit of rocks here in Missouri, but some trails too. So it's actually gotten me to the point to where I'm going to put on another Trailmaster event this year and kind of, I wouldn't say copy what they did, but take their way of building trails as kind of like a half bench cut style trail that you would find on a mountain bike. For a mountain bike trail, and they used that to build a bunch of miniature trails for the trucks. It was just really cool, a lot of fun. So the vendors were great there, the trails were great there. They had a lot of giveaways, especially the last day. There was a lot of great giveaways there. And the weather was awesome too. I actually got a little bit of a sunburn. And coming from Missouri where it was raining, it was like 35 degrees, cold, rainy, and wet when I left. And then getting down there and having a couple of days of really nice bright weather, 80s, 70s, that sort of thing. It was kind of a nice reprieve for me, a little bit of a vacation, although it was work the entire time. since I got there a day late, I didn't quite have everything prepared as well as I could have, or at least as I wanted to. I wanted to do some 3D printing while I was there. I wanted to do some videos while I was there, and have more of a, a full video made for this event. And it just didn't happen. So what you get is you get me talking about it, about how fun it was. So as I'm leaving the event, I hop into my van and I say, all right, I got the fuel pump going. I'm going to go ahead and buy a crankshaft sensor. I'm going to go ahead and buy a camshaft sensor, and I'm going to go ahead and buy a new serpentine belt for this truck. It's a 4.3 liter GMC engine in there, same as like a 1500, same as like the Sierra, same engine on those guys. And it's kind of a, known issues that they have. I used to have a Jeep, and the crankshaft sensor was the one thing that just, kind of went out fairly often. Ended up frying a couple of ECUs even on that vehicle, so a well-known issue. And as I left, yep, that's what I'm gonna do. But it was after 5 p.m. or like right at 5 p.m. So I figured, you know what, these stores are about ready to close here in town. It's a little town, they probably don't have the part. So I'm just gonna drive back to South Georgia. It's only a couple hundred miles. I know the truck's been running great the last couple days. No big deal, right? Well, it broke down on me, 100 miles away from the event, 5 miles from the line of the Florida-Georgia border again. Yeah, and it was right about 7 p.m. when it broke down, and all of the local part shops were closed. So I give the tow truck driver a buzz. He comes to me as soon as he drops his load. He brings a bunch of tools, and he tried to get the part before he came in, and just not quite enough time. Nobody had it in stock around his area. So, boo, all right? He does his best to help me troubleshoot. I end up having to troubleshoot myself after he left about midnight by this time. And, as he's leaving, he says, hey, you into these things? Hands me a gun. And at that point in time, after having somebody stop, and then as soon as I stick my head out of the window, they floored it away from there. I was like, yeah, there's kind of some rough characters around here. I know that part of the country. That's not a place you want to be broken down in, really. So at that point in time, I said, yeah, I'm into that. I'm familiar with guns. So I took it. I read up on the Florida laws about having guns in vehicles and stored it properly inside my van, according to the Florida law. And then shortly thereafter, a policeman came by, the sheriff for the county came by, and pretty much said the same thing, like, this ain't a part of town you want to be broke down in, son. And so I thanked him for stopping by. Didn't need help getting myself anywhere, because I didn't want to leave the van, honestly, on the side of the road. It was a little logging highway, a lot of cars passing by my head, a lot of logging trucks passing by my head, so it wasn't that pleasant of a night. Around 2 a.m., Doug actually had the same part. He had, I think it was a Blazer or something like that with the same engine on his property. And he was going to take out the part and bring it back to me. And I had determined by that point that, yes, the crankshaft sensor was bad. But he didn't quite make it back to me. I texted him like 2:30 in the morning time. Hey, if you're not on your way back yet, I need to get some sleep. I was ready to crash. I didn't get much sleep the entire time because, a lot of talking, having fun with people at the event. So I was a little bit beat. And I really couldn't sleep, honestly. I mean, I laid down, but I probably got about 2 hours of sleep that night from like 3 to 5 a.m. when no trucks were passing by my head. And next morning time, though, I wake up at 5. Not really a whole lot of sleep, like I said. And then I wait until about 7 a.m. and hop on my electric bike, the Suron, which I recently got, and rode that to the previous town. Really glad that I had that in the vehicle with me, just in case. We got the parts, brought it back, installed the crankshaft sensor, and bam blam, was on my way. So that was actually it. I managed to diagnose the original sensor by using a really strong magnet and flipping it from north to south. And with the ignition turned on, you could actually hear the truck trigger every time you'd flip the magnet over. So I did know that, hey, that's probably what the problem is, because it wouldn't trigger otherwise. Anyway, got back onto town, rode back up to South Georgia, finally, made that last little leg on hardly any sleep. Tried to sleep the rest of that afternoon, just really couldn't. Woke up pretty dizzy from the lack of sleep, and then that night, ate a big old nice steak dinner, thanks to my buddy Matt, delicious cook, and then slept for about 10 hours straight. Got back on the road the next day and made the next couple of days, I guess, and made the trip home. So all in all, it was a really fun trip. One thing that I would like to talk about while I was there is I got to meet the owners of Helios RC and Bauhaus RC. You may be familiar with Bauhaus RC. It's actually Bauhaus, but a lot of guys, like myself, we've used bows a lot of our lives. You see the word B-O-W and you think bow, but they have a dog bone around their, you know, let's see, I don't think I have anything. Oh, here we go. Their symbol is a dog bone around it. So bow house, you know, like rough, rough, bow, 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 wow. So they had this low center of gravity battery tray that they make for the TRX4. Really good idea. They did an extremely good job of just maximizing all the space in the rig to get a lower center of gravity. So pretty excited to give that a shot. I've got it installed here. Still need to put the last screw in. And then also they've got these batteries. And I picked up some 30C packs and some 35C packs. And what's really nice about these versus the packs that I have that are now getting old and tired and a few years old is that these are 3500C or 3500 milliamp hour instead of being 2200 milliamp hour for pretty much the exact same space. So as technology goes on, that's pretty typical of batteries. And I want to say my batteries that I've been using are probably 2 years old at this point. So yeah, really excited to get more runtime. I used these while I was down there because I had destroyed all my other batteries in the meantime. But yeah, excited to do that. Great to meet a lot of the vendors. There's so many vendors there that almost don't remember who I should be mentioning right now, but it was a really fun event. Great vendors there. The vendor row was awesome. Great to see all the people. There was over 180 people in attendance on, I think that was Saturday, which for a non-competition event, that's pretty solid in my opinion. So if you're wanting to go to it next year or kind of on the fence this year and didn't go, I would say you missed a great event. I would definitely recommend you go next year just to go have a good time, see other people that are into scale rigs, and man, just have fun with toy trucks. That's what it's really all about, just having fun with toy trucks, right? So hope you enjoyed the video, a little recap there. If you got any questions about the event or any products or anything like that, feel free to post up below. Appreciate you tuning in. Have a good day.